Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we have my first AM5 build with the 8600G, and we're going to be comparing the AM5 platform compared to AM4, which I've said before to be better for PC flipping because it's more profitable as a used market. There are more CPUs and motherboards available and just more parts, and AM4 is easier to flip because Intel has some very bad platform issues, and easy money. Yeah, so let's get started. We have this Ryzen 5 8600G with integrated graphics that I will probably be turning off. So let's get this installed real quick. So it's the CPU. It's got this, I don't know what to call it, pattern, but it's not square like the AM4s. And instead of the pins being on the CPU, the pins are actually on the motherboard for a change, as a land grid array, as I believe they call it. So we're gonna slide this in. People do say the AM5 is like the hardest socket to pull down, so we're gonna be the judge of that. Also, the socket is actually my first like properly new motherboard. Oh my god, that is. Well, they weren't lying, and not much of a socket pop, but that was pretty cool. We have this KLEVV Cras C110, which is a Gen 4 drive, perfect for this motherboard, which is the A620M by MSI, which I know isn't great because no heatsink on the VRMs, but the amount of VRMs, as you can see there, is great. And I think those are just VRMs, I don't know. It looks pretty good, to be fair, so let's get installing this heatsink onto this SSD. The sticker here so that it doesn't peel. Match up a notch. Not perfect, but it looks pretty good. SSD installed, and I have to say, installing SSDs with like those little screws that the SSD manufacturers give you have to be one of the worst things to do while PC building. So here we have the RAM, Corsair Vengeance, DDR5. I'll put the specs up on screen here, somewhere over here. So let's click this in real quick. That's motherboard preparation done. Looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. So I've hooked this up to actually test if everything works, but I've forgotten to install the heatsink, or the stock cooler that I came with, which I'm going to be using. So let's just take off these standoffs real quick. So we have the stock cooler here with the pre-applied thermal paste, so I don't want anyone telling me that I didn't add thermal paste or whatever. I'm just gonna figure out the best orientation for this. Well, new fit, and we actually installed the stock cooler, and let's compare this to an AM4 stock cooler. So as you can see here, this one has more fins compared to the AM4. And you can see how that they improved on the design because the fins are more curved as well to improve the airflow. So now we actually have this CoolerMaster Elite 301 case with some Antec RGB fans. So we're going to install this micro ATX board into this micro ATX case. So let's get onto that. So I'm installing the IO shield right now. Gonna be real quick. And now we're gonna put in the motherboard. This is actually really interesting because it actually sits perfectly on the bottom, so I don't have to like hold it up. So I can actually install it while you guys can actually see properly without the case being sideways all the time. So here's all the screws done. So now that we're done with the screws, we're plugging in IO and like audio and stuff. So if you want to see the unboxing of the parts, they're all on my channel as shorts or some other form of content, I don't know. But the main difference between AM5 and AM4 is that AM5 has way better upgradability than AM4, because currently the best Ryzen 7 that you can get on AM4 is the Ryzen 7 5800X, and that just can not bottleneck up to like the 4070, I believe, whilst as the AM5 platform has better chips and also cheaper chips for the performance, I'm pretty sure. And you can get the X3D cache and a lot more better technology on the better architecture. This AM5 platform CPU, we're also going to install a new gen GPU, the RX 9060 XT 16 gigs, which is very good and is actually the top running specs third GPU for price to performance, so is very good value. I got this for £285, so let's get installing. Here we have the EVGA GQ650, and this is a pretty good PSU, much like that discontinued GPUs that they used to make, RIP EVGA. This is 80 plus gold rated and semi-modular, and is got an eco button at the back near the cables, which I'm assuming is like a zero fan mode, just like other CPUs. PSUs, so let's get this installed into our build. This should be more than enough to power the 9060 XT. Very nice card, as I said again. So let's get that installation. So here we have the PCIe, the CPU cable, and the Molex cable for the fans. And this is actually interesting because I really like the straight cables that the EVGA PSUs give. I have another PSU for my test bench, and they're straight as well, and they're just, I hope that this will look pretty great for organizing, much like how cable combs or cable extensions give it a straighter look down the back. So let's get these installed. So the straight cables does make the cable manager look a bit smoother, as you can see straight down here, except for the motherboard cable, but that doesn't really matter, as it's one of the thicker cables. So this looks pretty good right now. Let's test boot it and benchmark it, and let's get some final pictures. So we're done cable managing here, looks pretty good. One straight cable down here for the motherboard, and one straight cable down here for the CPU. So let's get cutting the cable ties. I think I've done a pretty good job, so let me know what you think about the cable management. And I put on the back cover. Moving on to some Cinebench and some Furmark. So here we have the single core and multi-core CPU tests, which not really sure, but they don't show temps, and you can see the performance on the sides based on points, and you can search those up, and you can see the ratio right there. And it's just rendering the frames. And now we have the Furmark, which is the GPU benchmark. This tests the temps and basically a full stress test, and shows how well it is under load. Here are the final pictures. So hope you enjoyed the video. Watch another one next time. Remember, subscribe.